So you're here because you want to get the real story, right? The key insights, without getting bogged down in just endless pages.
Yeah, you want to understand what's actually important, maybe see things a bit differently.
Exactly. And that's what we're doing today. We're diving headfirst into Rework, the book by Jason Fried and David Heinemeier Hansson.
The 37 Signals guy. Well, they're Basecamp now. Yeah. And it's good to remember, this wasn't some huge corporation from day one.
Right.
They started tiny, just 3 people. Back in 1999, a web design firm, actually. Very scrappy.
And the Basecamp story itself is great, isn't it? Yeah. It came out of their own frustration.
Totally. They couldn't find project management software they liked, so they just, well, built their own. That was 2004.
And turns out, lots of people felt the same way. It just took off. And then they did High-Rise, Backpack, Campfire, other useful tools.
And you can't forget Ruby on Rails. I mean, for the tech folks listening, that was huge. They invented it.
Right. An open source framework that really changed how web apps got built, made things faster, easier.
So, yeah, when these guys talk about doing things differently, about making tools, they know their stuff. They've lived it.
Absolutely. And Rework is basically their philosophy laid bare. It's not, your typical dusty business book.
No way. It's really for anyone who's thought about creating something.
Yeah.
A company, a side project, even if you're already running a business and feel a bit stuck.
It's all about shaking up those old ways of thinking, isn't it?
Definitely. The book just tackles those long-held beliefs about how business has to be done, things we often don't even question. It's about stripping away the fluff, being more realistic, more effective without all the usual baggage.
So our mission today is really to cut through the noise of Rework, pull out those key insights, the stuff you can actually use.
Yeah, actionable advice that might help you rethink how you approach work projects, maybe even what success looks like for you.
Okay, let's dive in then. First big theme, the new reality.
Right, and what jumps out straight away is how technology has totally changed the game for starting a business.
How so?
Well, all those expensive tools and resources, the stuff that used to be a huge barrier, a lot of it is super cheap now, or even free.
It gives individuals way more power, doesn't it?
Exactly. One person with a laptop can do what used to take, whole departments. That kind of agility, that individual impact, it's massive.
It really is a huge shift for anyone with an idea.
And this connects to another big point they hammer home, challenging that myth of the killer work week.
Yes, the 80-hour-plus badge of honor.
Right. They strongly argue you don't need to be chained to your desk for crazy hours to build something great. In fact, they think 10 to 40 focused hours can often be way more effective.
Which is such a relief to hear, honestly.
Yeah.
The idea you can build something meaningful and have a life.
Totally. And they talk about starting small, too. Maybe on the sides, keep your day job for a bit, use remote work. It makes the whole thing feel much more accessible.
A more flexible world for builders.
Okay.
So they describe this new reality, but they also take down some traditional thinking. A big one is ignore the real world.
Yeah, that one sounds a bit weird at first, right?
It does. What do they mean by telling you to ignore reality when you're trying to build something real?
Well, their argument is that a lot of the constraints people just accept the way things are done are actually self-imposed. They're just norms. And Rework encourages you to question them, to challenge that status quo. Are those limits really real for you, or can you bend the rules?
So it's like, don't just assume you need the fancy office or the massive marketing budget right away. Question it.
Precisely. And then they hit you with another one that might raise an eyebrow. Learning from mistakes is overrated.
Okay, yeah, because all we hear is fail fast, fail often.
Right.
That failure is the best teacher.
Right. But their take isn't about avoiding mistakes. It's more about not dwelling on the failures endlessly. They argue focusing on your successes is more productive.
So figure out what worked and why, and then do more of that.
Exactly. Understand your wins and replicate them. They even cite a Harvard Business School study in the book.
Oh, yeah. What did it find?
It found that entrepreneurs who'd succeeded before had a much higher chance of succeeding again, like 34%. But entrepreneurs who'd failed before, their success rate was basically the same as first-timers, only 23%.
Wow. So prior success was a much better predictor than prior failure. That definitely challenges the common narrative.
It really does. They compare it to evolution, Nature builds on what works. It doesn't keep revisiting failed mutations. They suggest we should do the same in business.
That's a really interesting way to frame it. Okay, another sacred cow they tackle is the big long-term business plan. Planning is guessing.
Yeah.
Pretty direct.
Very direct. And their point is, unless you've got a crystal ball, Planning too far ahead is mostly guesswork.
Because there are just too many unknowns.
Exactly. Market shifts, competitors doing weird stuff, customer behavior changing, the economy. You can't control any of that. So those detailed 5-year plans, maybe not so useful.
So all the time people spend crafting those massive documents, potentially wasted effort.
Not totally wasted, maybe, but they suggest reframing it. Think of them as guesses, business guesses, financial guesses.
Calling it a guess takes the pressure off, doesn't it?
It does. Reduces the stress if things don't go exactly according to the plan, because it was just a guess.
Right.
The danger comes when you treat those guesses like rigid blueprints. They can blind you to new opportunities, make you stick to a path, even when things have clearly changed. Plans can fight against improvisation.
So flexibility is key. Rigid plans get in the way. Okay, another one. Why grow? Growth seems like the ultimate goal in business, always.
Always. Bigger equals better, right. But Rework questions that. They suggest small can be a great place to be, not just a phase you pass through.
Interesting, because the pressure's always to scale up, expand. What's their argument for staying small?
Well, they point out that while small companies want to be big companies often wish they were more agile, more flexible, like small companies are.
That's true. Big companies spend ages trying to recapture that startup nimbleness.
Exactly. And once you're big, shrinking down is incredibly hard. Plus, growth brings complexity. More expenses, more infrastructure, more management. Just more headaches, often.
Like trying to turn a giant cruise ship versus a speedboat.
Right. So be intentional about size. Small isn't failure. Okay. They also hit on workaholism, that culture of constant overwork.
Yeah, that's definitely glorified in some circles.
But they're critical of it. They argue just putting in more hours doesn't mean better work. It often leads to burnout, mistakes, less creativity, diminishing returns.
Makes sense. Focused, rested work beats sheer volume.
Precisely. Sustainable pace. And then finally in this bit, they kind of propose a rebranding. Enough with entrepreneurs.
What's wrong with entrepreneur?
They just feel it's a bit overused, maybe carries too much baggage, like it implies this specific high-risk personality. They prefer the term starters.
Starters. I like that. It sounds more grounded.
Yeah, their point is anyone who starts a new business is a starter. Doesn't matter if you have an MBA or took huge risks. It's about the act of creation, getting started.
It makes it feel more accessible, less intimidating. Okay, so that covers the new reality and challenging old thinking. Let's move to the go section, actually taking action, finding your purpose.
Right, this is about getting down to it. And the first point is pretty inspiring. Make a dent in the universe.
Sounds big. Like Steve Jobs level ambition.
Well, maybe not that big for everyone, but it's about feeling your work matters. That it makes a real difference to customers, that people would actually miss it if you stopped.
So creating something meaningful that resonates solves a real problem.
Exactly. And having some urgency about it. It's your life's work, right? Don't just make another commodity. Think about your legacy. They mentioned Craigslist, the Drudge Report. Small operations, huge impact.
Good examples. Both definitely did things their own way. Okay, another key piece of advice here is scratch your own itch. Heard that one before.
It's classic advice for a reason. The idea is simple. Create something you need or want. Solve your own problem.
Because then you inherently understand the issue.
Deeply. You know the pain point. You know what a good solution looks like. You're the target customer. That gives you insights you just can't fake. And motivation, too, because you actually want the thing to exist.
Makes total sense. Building on that, Rework stresses actually, well, doing something. Start making something. Sounds obvious, but...
It is obvious, but so often overlooked. Ideas are great, but execution is everything. They joke about people saying, oh, I had the idea for eBay.
Yeah, an idea is worthless until you actually build it.
Exactly. Get your hands dirty, start making, which leads to the next point, tackling that common excuse. No time is no excuse.
The classic, I'd love to, but I'm just too busy.
They basically call bullshit on that, politely, of course. They argue if you really want to do something, you find the time. Keep the day job, work nights, weekends, squeeze out a few hours instead of watching TV.
It's about priorities. Small, consistent efforts add up. And if the excitement fades after a few late nights, maybe it wasn't the right idea anyway.
Exactly. No big loss. Now, draw a line in the sand. What's that about?
This is about having a strong point of view, knowing what you stand for, and sticking to it, even if it means not pleasing everyone.
Okay, like defining your core values.
Yeah, and being willing to say no to things that don't align.
Yeah.
They give an example of a sandwich shop that closes when the fresh bread runs out. No compromises on quality. That attracts loyal customers who get it.
So integrity over trying to be everything to everyone. Got it. Now, they're pretty down on traditional mission statements, aren't they?
Yeah.
Mission statement impossible. Oh, yeah. They see most of them as just corporate jargon. Generic, vague, totally disconnected from what the company actually does. They use enterprise rent-A cars as an example, just paragraphs of abstract fluff.
Lots of buzzwords, zero clarity. So what's the alternative?
Focus on what you actually do. Clear, simple actions. What value do you provide? Forget the lofty, generic ideals. Make it real.
Grounded. Understandable. Okay, funding. Always a big topic. Outside money is Plan Z. That suggests bootstrapping.
Definitely. They strongly advocate relying on your own resources initially. Avoid outside investors if you can. They talk about their own early days, super frugal. Shared office, one server, founders handling support emails.
Kept them in control.
Yeah.
Right? No answering to VCs right away.
Exactly. Maintain control, stay lean, which ties into you need less than you think.
Meaning don't overcommit early on.
Right. Avoid long leases, too many staff, rigid processes. Stay light. The less you're tied down, the more flexible you are. You can pivot, adapt way faster.
Minimize overhead, maximize agility. Okay, and they draw a distinction. Start a business, not a startup. What's the difference they see?
For them, a business is focused on, well, being a business, generating revenue, becoming sustainable. A startup, in their view, is often more focused on hypergrowth, getting acquired, maybe even before figuring out a solid profit model.
So prioritize building something viable and lasting over just chasing a quick exit or massive scale.
Yeah. And that connects directly to building to flip is building to flop.
Because if your only goal is selling the company,
Then your focus shifts. It becomes less about making a great product for customers and more about making the company look good to potential buyers. Quality can suffer. Long-term thinking goes out the window.
focus on the exit, not the journey. Got it. And finally here, they circle back to less mass.
Yeah, just reinforcing that benefit of staying small, agile, easier to change, learn, adapt, less inertia.
Leanness, flexibility, focus on real value. Okay, that's the go phase. Now, progress. How do you actually move forward?
Right, this is about embracing constraints and staying focused. First up, embrace constraints. Sounds kind of backward, no?
It does. Usually we think constraints are bad, lack of time, money.
But they argue limitations can actually fuel creativity. Necessity is the mother of invention, right? When you don't have everything, you're forced to be resourceful, find clever solutions.
Like prisoners making tools out of soap. Or that example they use of The Price is Right. Simple concept, endlessly creative games.
Exactly. Or Southwest using only 737s. Constraints create efficiencies. They built Basecamp with limits, money, geography, and it forced them to keep it simple and focused.
So don't bemoan what you lack, use it. Okay, next. Build half a product, not a half-assed product. Love the phrasing.
Yeah, it's blunt. The core idea is quality over quantity. Don't try to cram in every possible feature from day one. You can't do 10 things well when you're starting out.
So focus on the core and make that excellent.
Precisely. Cut your ambition in half, maybe. Deliver fewer features, but make them flawless. Better than a sprawling, buggy mess.
Makes sense. Then start at the epicenter. What's the epicenter?
It's the absolute core of what you're offering, the most critical piece. When you start, there are a million things you could do. Focus on the have to do.
Like the hot dog stand example, nail the hot dog first. Everything else comes later.
Exactly. Condiments, cart design. Secondary, find your hot dog. What's the one thing your whole business hinges on? Start there.
Okay, so focus on the core. But what about the little things? Ignore the details early on, so don't sweat the small stuff at the start.
Right. Don't get bogged down deciding like the exact shade of blue for a button before you've even figured out the main workflow. It's like picking bathroom tiles before the house plans are done.
It leads to delays, arguments, distracts from the fundamentals.
Totally. Nail the big picture first. Broad strokes. You often don't even know which details will matter until you're further along anyway.
Okay, now, making the call is making progress. This is about decisiveness.
Absolutely. Postponing decisions just creates a backlog. Things get ignored or rushed later. Swap, let's think about it, for let's decide.
Even if it's not a perfect decision.
Even then, commit, build momentum, boost morale. Done is better than waiting for perfect. You can usually course correct later if needed. Their own affiliate program example shows that start simple, refine later.
Overcome analysis paralysis. Keep moving. Okay, be a curator. What does that mean in this context?
Think like a museum curator. What they choose not to display is as important as what they do. It's about being selective, editing, subtracting.
constantly looking for things to remove to improve the quality.
Exactly. The best offerings are often simpler. They tell that story of the chef who cut his menu way down and quality went up. The instinct is often to add more when things aren't working, but sometimes subtracting is the answer. Do less, but better.
Focus on the essential. Don't be afraid to cut. Now, tone is in your fingers. A bit more metaphorical.
Yeah, it comes from guitar players. You can have the exact same guitar as Eric Clapton, but you won't sound like him. The magic is in how you play it, your touch, your style.
So, applied to business.
It means your unique approach, your perspective, that's what matters more than just using the same tools or software as someone else. How you execute, how you interact, that's your unique tone. Be authentic.
Your way of doing things is the differentiator. Okay, sell your byproducts. Finding value in unexpected places.
Exactly. Stuff you create as part of your main thing might have value on its own. Like Ford making charcoal from wood scraps, Kingsford charcoal. Or a band filming their recording sessions becoming a documentary.
So keep an eye out for those secondary things you're creating. Could they be sold or shared?
Right. And finally here, put it off. Sounds like procrastination. Strategic procrastination. It's about prioritizing ruthlessly for launch. What absolutely has to be there. Delay the non-critical stuff.
Like that thought experiment. If we had to launch in 2 weeks, what would we do?
Exactly. That forces you to identify the true essentials. It cuts through the nice-to-haves and focuses you on the must-haves for getting started. Minimum viable product thinking.
Focus on the MVP. Iterate later.
Got it.
Okay, progress made. Let's talk productivity, working smarter.
Yes, lots of practical stuff here. They start by warning against illusions of agreement, time-wasting documents.
Like reports nobody reads, specs that don't match the final thing.
Exactly. Stuff that looks like work but doesn't actually add value. Question the need for every document, every meeting. Prioritize real communication, actual output.
Right. Then a simple question. Are you adding value?
Constantly ask this. Is what you're working on really making the product better for the customer? Adding features is easy. Adding value is hard. Sometimes improvements just add clutter.
Focus on things that genuinely benefit the user. And another filter. Will this change behavior?
Yeah, think about the impact. Will this new feature actually change how people use the product in a meaningful way? If not, maybe it's not worth the effort. Don't just add stuff for the sake of adding stuff.
And closely related, is it really worth it?
Evaluate the cost benefit. Is this meeting worth an hour of everyone's time? Is pulling an all-nighter the best way? Is stressing over that competitor's announcement productive? Be conscious of where your energy goes.
Mindful effort. Okay, their take on perfection. Good enough is often good enough.
Right. Don't chase unattainable perfection when speed matters. That political ad example, low quality, but aired at the perfect moment, so it worked. Getting something out quickly and iterating is often better than waiting for flawless.
Balance quality and speed.
Yeah.
Perfect is the enemy of good sometimes. Now, to keep things moving, small victories.
Break big projects down. Aim for smaller, achievable milestones. Maybe aim to own something new every couple of weeks. It builds momentum, keeps the team energized, keeps customers engaged.
Creates that positive feedback loop. Okay, non-negotiable. Go to sleep.
Yes. They are very firm on this. Skimping on sleep seems like you're gaining hours, but the long-term cost is huge. Creativity, morale, decision-making, it all suffers. Stubbornness, irritability, direct costs.
Rest isn't a luxury. It's essential for good work. They also admit your estimates suck.
Yeah, they know estimating time is hard. Their advice: break big things into tiny things. Estimate the tiny things. Instead of a 12-week project, think 12 one-week projects. It feels less daunting, and estimates get more accurate.
Makes sense. And those huge to-do lists. Long lists don't get done.
They're overwhelming. People feel guilty when they don't finish them. Keep lists short, focused. Check things off. Get that sense of accomplishment. Focus on immediate priorities.
Keep it manageable. Okay, finally here. Make tiny decisions.
Big decisions are hard to make, harder to change. Ego gets involved. Smaller decisions are less risky, easier to reverse if you get it wrong. Allows for more flexibility, less commitment fear. Make incremental progress.
Adjust course as needed. Okay, productivity covered. How about dealing with competitors?
Right. Their main theme here is finding your own path, not just reacting. First rule, don't copy.
Seems obvious, but tempting when you see someone else succeeding.
Very tempting. But just imitating means you offer nothing unique. You're just a cheap copy. Learn from others, sure, but don't just clone them. Find your own angle, like Zappos with service or Polyface Farm with ethics. Pour your passion in.
Be original. Find your unique value. Now, pick a fight. Sounds aggressive.
It's strategic. Position yourself against a competitor, the whole industry. Create a narrative. Audi versus BMW, Lexus, Apple versus Microsoft. It gives people a reason to root for the underdog, clarifies what you stand against.
Creates a clear story.
Yeah.
Okay, interesting one. Underdo your competition.
Yeah, challenges the idea you always need more. More features, more complexity. Sometimes doing less, but doing it really well is the winning move. Like the flip camera, super simple, hugely successful because it did one thing perfectly.
Simplicity is a feature. Don't get lost in feature creep. Ease of use wins. And finally, who cares what they're doing?
Basically, don't obsess over competitors. Watching them constantly breed stress, anxiety makes you reactive instead of proactive. It dilutes your own vision. Keep an eye out, sure, but focus inward on your plan.
Don't get distracted by the noise. Focus on your own game. Okay, moving on to evolution, adapting and saying no.
Crucial for long-term health. First point, say no by default.
That sounds powerful, but maybe difficult.
It can be, but saying yes to too many things kills focus. Too many features, deadlines, requests, you get spread too thin. Protect your time and resources. Be selective. Even challenge the customer is always right sometimes if their request hurts the core product.
Protect the core vision. They mentioned ING Direct doing well by offering fewer products. Right?
Exactly. Simplicity through saying no, and be clear about your no. Next, don't confuse enthusiasm with priority.
That shiny new idea that seems brilliant right now.
Exactly. That initial rush feels great, but doesn't always mean it's the most important thing right now. Let ideas cool off a bit. Don't drop everything just because something sounds exciting today. Stick to your current priorities.
Measured approach, not chasing every new spark.
Okay, so this one sounds weird. Don't write it down. Regarding customer requests.
Yeah, counterintuitive. But their point is, the requests that really matter, you'll hear them again and again. Your customers become your memory. No need for complex tracking systems for every single suggestion. If it's easily forgotten, it probably wasn't critical. Let the important stuff bubble up naturally. Okay, nearly there. Promotion, getting noticed.
How to get the word out, often on a budget. They start with welcome obscurity, which is an odd way to think about promotion.
Right, isn't the goal to not be obscure?
Eventually. But early on, being unknown is an advantage. You can experiment, make mistakes, tweak things without the whole world watching, like test markets for products or trial runs for plays, lower stakes to learn and refine.
A safe space to iterate. Okay, a core idea, build an audience.
Huge for them. Instead of just buying ads, create value by sharing useful stuff, like their blog, Signal versus Noise. Build a community people actually interested in what you do and say. They're way more likely to become customers. It's sustainable.
Connection over interruption. And related. Outteach your competition.
Share your expertise. Educate your potential customers. Position yourself as a knowledgeable resource. Build trust. It's powerful marketing that provides real value.
Demonstrate expertise, build authority, then behind the scenes. People like seeing how the sausage is made.
Totally. Showing the inner workings builds trust, makes you relatable. Think Discovery Channel shows about jobs or Food Network showing kitchen processes. People are curious. Be transparent. Let them see the effort.
Humanize the business. And on being human, nobody likes plastic flowers.
Be authentic. Don't try to be perfect. Flaws make you relatable. Trying too hard to seem flawless comes off as stiff, fake. Real flowers wilt, but they're real. Be real.
Genuine is better than polished, but fake. Okay, traditional PR, press releases are spam. Ouch.
Yeah, they're not big fans, especially for new businesses. They just get lost in the noise, often aren't targeted well. Low ROI for most starters.
So what's better? Target niche publications.
And go where your specific audience already is. Smaller blogs, specialized magazines, community forums, much more effective reach for the right people. These outlets often need content, too. Quality over quantity of reach.
Makes sense. Now, the provocative one. Drug dealers get it right. What's the lesson there?
It's about the free sample. Give people a small taste of your product. If it's good, they'll likely come back for more. Reduce the friction to trying it out. Let the product sell itself.
Try before you buy. Got it. And marketing is not a department.
Crucial point. Marketing isn't just ads and campaigns. Every interaction is marketing. How you answer the phone, the copy on your website, the helpfulness of your support, the usability of your product, it all shapes the customer's perception.
Everyone owns a piece of the brand experience. Okay, and forget the huge stressful launch, the myth of the big launch.
Yeah, don't wait for perfect. Get something out there sooner. Start learning from real users. Iterate. Launching isn't the finish line, it's the starting line.
Embrace iteration. And finally, patience.
Building a brand takes time, consistent effort.
Mm-hmm.
Don't expect overnight miracles. Don't waste money on expensive PR firms too early. Think long term. Many great brands grew organically over years.
Marathon, not as planned. Okay, got the word out. Hiring, building the team.
Some really practical, sometimes countercultural advice here. Starts with do it yourself first.
We touched on this. Understand the job before you hire for it.
Exactly. You need to know what good work looks like, what's involved. Helps you write the job description, ask good questions, manage effectively, lead by example.
Makes sense? Then, hire when it hurts.
Don't hire prematurely just to grow the team. Wait until the workload is genuinely painful, until you really need the help. Avoids unnecessary overhead and unclear roles. Hire out of necessity.
Okay. This sounds tough. Pass on great people who don't fit.
Culture fit is critical, they argue. Someone can be super talented, but if they don't match with your team's values or work style, they can cause more problems than they solve. Prioritize team cohesion.
Fit over just raw skills. And a gut check. Strangers at a cocktail party.
Simple test. Would you actually want to hang out with this person casually if the thought makes you cringe? Probably not the right fit for a small, close-knit team. Hire people you genuinely like and respect.
Build a team you enjoy working with? Okay, they dislike resumes. Resumes are ridiculous.
Yeah, they feel resumes are often full of fluff, easy to fake, and encourage shotgun applications. They put much more weight on a good cover letter, shows communication skills, genuine interest, look beyond the bullet points.
See the person, not just the paper. And forget about formal education.
Well, don't make it the only factor. Talent isn't just about degrees. Look at skills, experience, potential. Many brilliant people didn't follow the traditional academic path. Value demonstrated ability.
Skills over certificates.
Yeah.
On a small team, everybody works.
No room for pure delegators. Everyone needs to be a doer, a producer. People who only manage others can create unnecessary layers and slow things down on a lean team. Hire people who roll up their sleeves.
Team of doers. And hire managers of one. What are those?
Self-starters. People who can figure out what needs doing, set their own goals, and get it done without constant hand-holding. They take initiative. Invaluable on any team, especially a small one.
Proactive, autonomous folks. And a skill they value universally. Hire great writers.
Yes. Clear writing equals clear thinking, they believe. Good writers can communicate effectively, explain complex things simply, empathize with the reader. Vital for almost any role code, support, marketing, design.
Foundational skill. And talent is everywhere. The best are everywhere.
Don't limit your search geographically, especially with remote work. Great people aren't just in Silicon Valley or New York. Look wider. You'll find amazing talent if you open up your search.
Broaden the talent pool. Finally, test drive employees.
Use trial periods. Small paid projects. See how they actually work, how they fit, before making a long-term commitment, like a working interview. Reduces hiring mistakes. Good for both sides.
Try before you fully commit. Okay, team built. What if things go wrong? Damage control.
Handling screw-ups. Crucial first step. Own your bad news.
Be transparent. Don't hide it.
Exactly. Take responsibility immediately. They contrast Exxon Valdez, slow, defensive, with Ashland Oil, chairman front and center, open communication. Get ahead of it. Apologize sincerely. Explain what happened and what you're doing. Builds trust, even in bad times.
Take responsibility. Show concern. And act fast. Speed changes everything.
Quick responses are critical. The faster you react and start fixing things, the less damage is done to your reputation and customer trust. Show you're taking it seriously.
Be responsive. Now, how to say you're sorry. There's an art to it.
Definitely. Avoid those non-apology apologies. We're sorry if you were offended. Accept responsibility clearly. Explain the situation. Outline the fix. Use human language, not corporate speak. Show empathy.
Sincerity matters. And put everyone on the front lines.
Get everyone interacting with customers sometimes, even developers. It gives firsthand understanding of user needs, pain points, avoids that telephone game where messages get distorted passing through layers.
Break down silos, connect everyone to the customer. And lastly, take a deep breath.
When you launch something new or make a change, don't overreact to the initial negative feedback. People often resist change at first. Give it time. Let things settle before making knee-jerk reversals based on early complaints.
Be measured. Don't panic.
True.
Okay, that was a comprehensive dive into Rework.
It really was. We saw how they challenged so many norms. Planning, growth, workaholism, hiring. It's about being leaner, more focused, more human.
Yeah, prioritizing action, embracing constraints, building something sustainable and valuable, often by doing less but doing it better.
The core message really seems to be that success doesn't have to follow the old rulebook. A simpler, more direct approach, driven by your own passion and real customer value, can be incredibly effective.
Absolutely. So for everyone listening, maybe a final thought to chew on. What's one traditional business rule you've always just accepted? Could you challenge it? Could you rework it?
Good question to ponder, and definitely worth checking out the book Rework itself, or the Basecamp blog Signal versus Noise for more.
For sure. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive today.